Hey, Facebook friends, I just wanted to reach out to today. I had a chance this last weekend to speak at an event called the Global Media Summit, and I was invited to be a part of a very prestigious panel with people like Benjamin Dane, who actually runs a creative ad agency in South Lake, and Rodrigo and his wife, and I can't think of her name right now, but she was brilliant as well. I'll think of it in a minute, I'll tell you. But they came from eWeb Strategies, drove all the way up from San Antonio, and then I got to be on the board as well. It was just a panel talking about marketing, and we had a lot of people from the Global Media Summit who came to hear about marketing principles in the Christian world. How do we get a book published? How do we get it out there? How do we let people know about it? And I recommended to them this Facebook Live strategy. I absolutely love this format, and there are a couple of reasons that I do. Number one, it's live. So you have a chance to interact. You can comment right there at the bottom. If you were there, in fact, at the Global Media Summit, and I did have a chance to have a lunch with several ladies who said of themselves, we're like Facebook stalkers. We watch what you do, we just never comment. So I'm talking to you right now. Take a minute and comment. Put, hello, I'm stalking you down in the bottom of the comments. That'd be awesome. Here's something that I want to bring up real quick though. One of the comments asked, or the questions asked in the point of the panel was, how do we know if our book is going to be sold or be a great seller? And here's an indicator for you. There's a lady that I've been working with for a couple of years now. She leads a ministry called Operation Care. You may or may not know Susie Jennings. She's a friend on Facebook. If you haven't seen her or heard about her yet, just go through my friends list. You'll find Susie Jennings, connect with her, learn about Operation Care and her book, 31 Mountaintop Miracles. Here's something you're going to learn about Susie Jennings really, really fast. Susie Jennings is one of those ladies that can pray a divine encounter into her life. And by that I mean she's found this way to pray and to fast with obedience, to respond to God when God says, go see this person, stop at that donut shop, buy a cup of coffee, go here and do this thing. And she'll just do it, and it seems really, really random. And yet God is orchestrating these unbelievable divine encounters. So if you have not seen that kind of activity in your life, if you haven't seen God operate that way in your life, spend some time with Susie, pray for her and her ministry, pray with her, and you're going to learn some powerful things. Sandy Anderson is another guy who does the same thing, listens really closely to the Spirit of God and moves and goes and does exactly what he hears the Holy Spirit say. So here's what I told that group. There's a whole lot of opportunity to write a book, to converse with the public, to tell your story, to speak out, to speak up. And the challenge for a lot of people is the motivation or the intent, the desire to write a book, maybe driven by, I want to have a bigger platform. Or maybe you've been told this myth that if you'll just write a book, they'll come. And your ministry will explode, and your opportunity will explode. And if you're a life coach, or you're a leadership coach, or you're a speaker, or a consultant, the minute you have a book, all your world is different. And I just haven't found that to be true. There are some people whose message is so well developed, who are so seasoned in what they already communicate, who are so passionate and professional and excellent at what they do, that the minute they put all that together in a book, it goes crazy. But they're kind of like John Maxwell and many others have said, you think I had an overnight success, but it's taken me 20 years to develop myself and prepare for that overnight success. The idea of writing a book, sitting down and thinking, well, I have a great story, or I love to tell stories, I think I'll write a book, really should be about the culmination of what's been stewing in your life up to this point. So what does it mean to learn to roar? I'm going to give you that acronym really, really quick. To be able to roar means to be relevant, to have ownership, to speak with authority, and to be responsible for how your audience feels when you're done. Now there's all kinds of training material. You can find it on YouTube, you can find it on the website. I'll probably have some classes coming up this summer where you can learn more about Learn to Roar as a communicator, whether it's speaking from the stage, writing a book, doing video, on television, whatever it is. But Learn to Roar is a 4-hour training class. I'm gonna give you a really quick synopsis. Learning to be relevant isn't about what's relevant to you. Ken Davis says it like this: you don't want to step on the stage and start your speech with, ladies and gentlemen, tonight I want to talk to you about. Because what you've just told me is that your whole desire, your whole passion is what you want to talk about. That's not what I came for. I don't care what you want to talk about. I came because I have a problem and I'm hoping you have an answer for it. On the other hand, if you've used a process to define what your result for your client might look like, Michael Hyatt says it like this: 5 days to your best year ever. Wow, that simplifies it. How long will it take to have my best year ever? 5 days. Just 5 days? Yeah, because there's some really simple things that if you do those things every day for the next 5 days, or you repeat those 5 days over and over, you're going to change the quality of your life. Your health, your diet, your finances, your commitment, your goals, your achievements, your productivity, all of it. Just by changing some of those habits. So there's a big difference in being relevant. Is it what's important to you or what's important to your audience? Next is ownership. So what does it mean to have ownership? How many times have you heard somebody step to the podium, they grab the microphone, they start to speak, and here's what they say: I'm going to tell you a story that doesn't have anything to do with what I'm talking about tonight, but I think it's a fascinating story and I think you're going to love it. Maybe I've heard it before and I didn't like it the first time. I know you've experienced this. Someone decides to tell a story and then you find out they've forgotten the punchline. Why even tell it? Or the story has absolutely nothing to do with what they're teaching, but if they'd used the story as an analogy, they could have developed so much more in what they were teaching rather than a story over here and an idea and a plot and some lessons over here. The next is the A, authority. So what does it mean to speak with authority? Well, I would not dare. You see this belly? It's a struggle for me. I would not dare stand here and tell you what it means to be a successful dieter, or a nutritionist, or a phys ed major, or a superstar athlete, because I have been, and I am not, any of those. I have never been a superstar athlete. I have never been a nutritionist. I've never been a successful dieter. I'm always looking for the newest thing in that, but I have no authority to be talking about that. I'm not a multimillionaire. I've never made 6 figures as a life coach. I've never sailed around the world in 80 days. I don't have the authority to be speaking about those things. I don't know if it was the book Outliers or Tipping Points, but it was Malcolm Gladwell who said, when you have 10,000 hours at something, you can declare yourself to be the expert. 10,000 hours. All right, if you work a 40-hour work week, that's 2,080 hours each year. 2,080. That's a total of 5 years as a full-time job doing nothing but that, 40 hours a week, to become an expert. Do you have that invested in what you want to talk about from the platform, on a TV show, in a book, on your blog? If not, back up, hang on, hold up, wait a minute. Take some time to become an expert before you write the book, write the blog, stand on the stage, create the television, whatever it is you're going to do. Become an expert in that thing first. And finally, the R. One of our most beloved authors, Maya Angelou, said, people will very quickly forget what you told them. They'll even forget what you did. They will never forget how you made them feel. When you're standing on the platform or writing your book or speaking to your audience, and they walk away filled with shame because they're not as good as you, or guilt because they've tried that same thing and they failed, or they feel like they didn't really resonate with you because you talked about a topic that was way over their head. If I tell stories that resonate with teenage girls to an audience of teenage boys, I lose. If I tell stories about moms and dads to kids, I might lose. If I tell stories about being a father to little boys, I could lose. But when I talk to fathers, I talk about fatherhood. When I talk to mothers, I talk about being a son. Because I've never been a mother, but I've had one. When I talk to farmers, I talk about dirt. Anybody else you know do that? See, here's one thing that a lot of people miss. When you tell a story, the story isn't about the facts of the story. It's not about the details of the story. It's about resonating with the emotions of the person who might have experienced the exact same emotions, even though they've never experienced those circumstances. They've never been in that place before. But through a tool I call the avatar window, you can draw them in and invite them in by saying, you might have felt like this when. Again, if you really want the depth training on that, it's about 4 hours worth of training. But I honestly believe it's worth every penny. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm not even going to tell you where to get it. But I am going to tell you, if you will learn to roar when you communicate, in your books, in your blogs, on your TV shows, just face to face, on the stage, in a mastermind group, in your small group at church. If you'll learn to roar, speak with relevance, not what's important to you, but what's important to them. Solve a problem they have. Speak with ownership. This is something you've actually done yourself. You're not telling somebody else's story. These are your stories you've lived through. Speak with authority because you not only have encountered it, but you've defeated that foe. You've won against all odds. You know what it means to succeed at that with expertise. And then be responsible. Not looking at someone going, look at all the weight I have lost. Shame on you that you haven't. But instead to look at someone and go, if you can do this and I come alongside you, together we can do this for sure. I know that you have hope to do this. I believe in you. And I believe I can equip you to win over and over and over again. Well, there you go. That's what it means to learn to roar. So I want to challenge you to do that. Go out and learn to roar. Remember the greatest messenger of all time, the greatest salesman of all time, the greatest healer and counselor and teacher of all time. When he spoke to lawyers, he spoke about law. When he spoke to teachers, he spoke about teaching. When he spoke to farmers, he spoke about dirt. Speak to people in a language that resonates with their heart and let them feel like they're part of the story. And you'll find that your communication skills go up. And like John Maxwell says, all of your leadership reaches a lid. For most people, that lid is communication skills. Learn to roar. And I'll see you here another time. Have a blessed day.